Back at you with another one. Shout out to my boy Rich who brought this guy over. Let's check it out. All right, we know what this is right here. Yes, sir. Godzilla vs. Kong. Mechagodzilla from Godzilla vs. Kong 2021. And this continues with the same color theme as Godzilla and Kong boxes, which is awesome. This is a really, really nice looking box. It's popping out. Top says Mechagodzilla from Godzilla vs. Kong. We have Mechagodzilla from Godzilla vs. Kong and a picture of the figure. We have, back of the box is very nice. You have a nice picture of the figure right here, a bigger picture. Several more here and here. That's a great pose. And here you have a pose with Godzilla and Kong, which I'm gonna certainly do later on in the video. Nothing on that side, just the name. But yeah, really, really awesome box. You know, just all the SH Monsterarts GVK boxes are very nice. So let's open this sucker up. And just to show you here, it comes in the clamshell, of course, Stanley clamshell. And he's got open and closed hands, so that you do get a little accessory with it. That's the packaging, so let's get him out of there. All right, let's talk about Mechagodzilla, baby. Now, straight off the bat, it looks very nice. It's a surprisingly screen-accurate version of Mechagodzilla. You know what I mean? Coming from SH Monsterarts, who a lot of times goes with stylized approaches, you know, where you might get the accuracy from higher, but I think in this case scenario, it looks pretty good. Looks pretty much like the Mechagodzilla we saw in the film. There's a whole lot of detail on this sucker, man. You know what I mean? This must have been a pain in the ass to sculpt this figure. But it looks quite nice at first glance. It does definitely have its faults, which we'll talk about. You know, like the most predominant fault is these right here. They're like these little pegs. They work like shocks, basically, for the legs. But if you move them out too far, the pins pop out of the holes. And then you have to and then it's a little bit of a pain in the ass to get them back in. So, and I've heard some other people complain about that. But that right there is, you know, a fault. And it also limits the posability because of it. You know, but you do have, you know, some cool stuff like here on the bottom of the feet, like that bottom part bends out, which allows you to move the feet like all the way back. You know, and then another fault would be the claws, the hands, in my opinion. You get two hands. I like the hands better that it already comes with, but you know, like you could replace part of the other set of hands with part of this, but it does happen to fall off quite a bit. So you have it to put, you know, two of his claws back on, you know, and those are functionality issues that you really don't like to see, man, you know, and they could have been avoided, you know what I mean? Like I can't really stretch the legs too far out on mine without these pegs coming out. So, but overall, I very much do like the look and the sculpt of it. It's nice. The red eyes are nice. His mouth, his face, you know, the chest, the details on his legs. The tail is quite nice. Another drawback some people have had is the little red tips on the dorsal plates, where people felt like those could have been a little more prominent. I tend to agree with that a little bit. Still, that's neither here nor there. It doesn't really take away the look of the figure, which is quite nice. Another fault, I believe, and we're definitely going to dive into it and address it a little further in the review, is the scaling of this guy. He's big. You know what I mean? And the scaling might be incorrect with the SHM, GVK, Godzilla, and Kong. Like, this thing seems like it towers over it, and might scale better with the Hayas, the GVK Hayas of Godzilla and Kong. So we're gonna take a look into that more as the video goes on. So, but you know, I do happen to like this. I like the original 74 Mechagodzilla the best, the 74 to 75. I like that look of him. And this one, it took a second. I didn't really care for it at first, and then it grew on me. It took a second before it grew on me, and now I actually quite like it, where it might be my second place as far as looks goes. I also like the Ready Player One Mechagodzilla. But, you know, I do like the look of this, and I definitely wanted to complete the set. But functionality issues like that are quite frustrating for figures, for SHM figures that are 150 plus, man. You know what I mean? There shouldn't be those kind of issues. But anyway, you know, overall, I like it. It's impressive looking. I'm going to pose it some for you guys to show you what he can do. You know, also, it doesn't feel cheap, but it feels like you have to be careful with it when you're posing it. It's stiff. You know, it's stiff when you bend the arms. It's stiff when you bend them at the elbows. You feel like, you want to be delicate with it because you don't want to snap anything when you handle it. And you'll see what I mean when you get your own and you have it in your hands. It's solid. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel cheap. It's heavy. But it's just a little stiff, and you kind of don't know how to bend it at first. But that improves over time. But you got to watch out for these guys, and that's the bottom line. But Mechagodzilla was very important in the Godzilla versus Kong movie. He kind of tied it together. You know, he was the reason why Godzilla and Kong both got to save face. You know, you were able to have Godzilla get the win on Kong, and then Kong saving the saving face by winning the movie, basically, by helping Godzilla out and killing and basically destroying Mechagodzilla. So and it was cool. I thought he fit right into that movie. You know what I mean? Yeah, I didn't think, that was probably the perfect way you could have done it. Have Godzilla and Kong beef with each other and then team up at the end so they both save face, take out the greater threat. And, that's why he was so vital and important to the movie. But let's pose him and dive a little further into the review. So, yeah, we do have some really nice articulation on this. You just have to be cognizant of the hip pistons. That's it. You see, where I have it is about as far as it could go before it pops out. But it doesn't hinder the leg articulation as I had originally thought. You just have to, be cognizant of the pistons as you pose the legs and move them with it. Don't go too far so they pop out. You could put them back in. I've heard in some cases where they broke on people, and then some other people have basically just taken them out altogether and just use it without it, which it's meant to be there, so I wouldn't do that. Just don't pull it out too far, and you could see it right before it's supposed to come out. Mine, I had no problem getting them back in there when they did come out. But it doesn't really hinder the articulation as much as I thought it was going to, And then, the knees are stiff, the elbows are stiff, but you got a bunch of ball joints and swivels, and hinges here to give you some good posability in the arms, the legs. You know, the neck is great since there's no, you know, there's no real torso articulation on this. You know what I mean? It's just the legs with the pistons. But since that's the case, they gave the head and neck some really nice movement. So you could look in all different directions with Mechagodzilla. I'll pose him. I'll pose his head in different positions for you, so you could you could see that. You know, you get the accessory of the extra hands, and it's not just one set of hands. You can actually take 2 fingers and mix them and match them however you want. So you have a totally open claw, or half and half, or like a closed fist, basically, you know. And then you're going to have on the shoulder pads here, you're going to have some rocket launchers or missile launchers that open up on both of them, as well as right here on his front, on his belly. Those 3 open up, and then you can see the more missile launchers right there. This is chock full of detail. The silver paint application is very nice. The crimson red eyeballs are very nice. The mouth opens rather wide. And you can see just all of the nooks and crannies on this. Like I said, there's a piece on the feet that make the feet move nicely. And, you know, it's going to take you a while before the knees and the elbow joints are looser, and you know, so you can move them more freely. But you got a bunch of swivels and ball joints and hinges on this to give it some good posability, you know. And the pistons, it doesn't really hinder the articulation of the leg. You just have to move it along with the pistons, and you'll get used to doing that, you know. The tail is butter smooth on this figure. It just moves so nicely, and it holds pretty damn every pose you want to put it in. So yeah, overall this is really nice, and I'm going to show you all of the different ways his head can move, you know. Yeah, the head moves rather nicely because there is no torso articulation here, you know. So you could get some wide range of motion with the head, and you could really pose this thing. So it's a sharp looking figure. It's nice. It's screen accurate. It's a nice silver application of paint, and you got some die cast. It's just really, the overall look of Mechagodzilla is nice here. It's fairly screen accurate, and I like that. Of course, everybody says you could put more of the red on the dorsal plates, but whatever. That's neither here nor there. I think he looks awesome. So we're going to pose him some more for you. We'll get into some more of what he could do here. Okay, so this is actually really nice. Like, you could pose them really nicely. Like, you could see the legs right here, you know, being cognizant of the pistons. You could still get them into some nice poses. I swapped out the claws. I didn't mix and match the 2 fingers. I just put on the closed claws, you know, and the tail straight away. Looks really nice. The head movement is fantastic on this. Look at how far down you could get them to look. That's really, really cool, you know. So, you know, just pointing out some of the functionality here on these poses. The tail is great, very smooth, and the head functionality is fantastic. I guess they overloaded, you know, the articulation for the head because there's no torso movement on this one. So you could really move his head in a lot of different positions. So we'll keep going, and I'll show you that. Now, this is just fantastic. You know, like, as I'm posing it, I'm seeing that you could really get this thing into some nice poses. Like, this tail is phenomenal. You could do an off-the-ground tail pose, no problem on this. It just sticks to whatever position you bend it in. I swapped the hands for you here so you can see they have one closed, one open claw, you know. And of course you can see, look what the head can do, you know. You can move it to the side, you could look way up, you could look way down. Right there. Yeah. Like, the mobility on the head is really, really fantastic. And I love that. I love that about this figure. So, You know, so far I'm really digging it. And you can see, you know, these are working fine. I'm posing the legs in different directions. You just have to make sure they don't pop out. It's not that big of a deal. But, you know, you could get them into some cool, that's a cool pose, you know. So, let's keep going here. And you could get them in a nice cock back, ready to punch position like that with the totally closed claw. So it looks like a fist. That's nice. Completely impressed by what you could do with this tail. It just looks so good. But I definitely love, you know, the cock back fist right there that you could get them in. That's really, really nice. We'll get them into some cooler fighting positions after too, when I you know, take out Godzilla and Kong to do some scaling and compare those. We'll put them in some cool poses together. But you see what you could do with this. This is really very nice, and the head is just so nice, man. Fantastic. Yeah, you know. Yeah, my only gripe so far would be it's a little bit stiff, and the pistons could have been done better. But other than that, you know, but I mean, you know, you shouldn't have any issues at all if you're paying $150 and above. So let's face it, that's still not right, you know. But the faults, every figure has faults, and you could definitely live with the ones that this has, because it does look very nice. You could pose it in some cool poses. It's fairly screen accurate. It's a good paint job. Just a little bit to get into the mouth. Looks very nice. You can see into the mouth. It has a nice ridged tongue with some silver paint on there. The teeth look great. Yeah, man. You know, this figure looks very, very nice. And I'm happy to have it. I'm impressed by it. Now I just want to show you, you know, the functionality of the arms, how high you could get them to, which is really nice. You could, you know, you could turn them in several different ways, which I love. But yeah, that's great. You could have one fully open claw, one closed claw. You could open the mouth even further, really, really wide, and you get a nice look at the inside of the mouth there. You have a real, real wide mouth look. Yeah, and this tail is just like, look at what you could do with this tail. It's just phenomenal. Phenomenal. But yeah, so I just want to show you, you know, be careful with this out of the box. Just be careful with it. It's stiff. It feels a little bit delicate. You don't want to break it. You know, just note that the elbow joints are going to be a little stiff. So you got to be careful how you move this thing around. But once you do, you're going to get some really nice poses out of it. And it looks great, you know. So let's continue on. All right, so I wanted to try that picture out from the back of the box. You can see there, kind of, sort of, maybe. Yeah, it's pretty cool though. You could do crazy things like that, man. He's looking to put his foot on Godzilla's chest, you know. But you know, like surprising posability here. I love it, man. Very cool. And I love how expressive this figure is. And that's crazy to say for a Mechagodzilla, because he's a robot, you know. But, you know, you could really pose this thing. And that's so cool. You can make it come to life. And I guess that's kind of fitting because, you know, at the end he was really being operated by King Ghidorah, so he kind of was brought to life in a certain way. So, you know, when you say expressive, I'm usually talking about Kong, you know. I've had an expressive Godzilla figure here and there, but Kong is really the one that, you know, humans can relate to the most because of how expressive he is. Well, now it feels that way with Mechagodzilla, you know, where you could just pose him in certain ways that just bring him to life, you know, bring him to life, and you really get a feeling for his scenes in the movie, and I love it. Okay, so now just to do, you know, a comparison for the scaling, here we have Mechagodzilla, you know, the SH Monsterarts Mechagodzilla with the SH Monsterarts Godzilla and Kong, all three from the GVK line. And, you know, my first initial feeling was the scaling is off. Mechagodzilla is too big. You know, maybe not seeing them now. I don't know. You know, Mechagodzilla is supposed to be almost, I would say, what, like 70. Kong is supposed to be 334 feet or something like that. So Mechagodzilla 400. So if you look at that, maybe the size is correct. But then again, he's only supposed to be about 7 feet taller than Godzilla at 393. So I don't know. Maybe Kong is okay. Maybe Godzilla is a little too small as far as the scaling. Or maybe it's correct. I don't know. Like I said, I had them scaled with the Hayas, and that felt a little bit more right. So I'll bring those out at a certain point. But yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think? You know what I mean? Let me know what your comments are on the scaling. You know, 334, 400. Is that about right? Maybe so. You know, 400, 393. Is that about right? I don't know. You know, and then of course I got Mechagodzilla looking down. You know, I don't even have him standing as straight up as I could. He's just big. You know, is that the difference? I mean, I guess it was. The difference looks a little greater. I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe it's closer with the Hayas. I'll let you guys be the judge of that. But you know, let's pose these guys a little bit. So you could basically recreate the scene when Kong jumps on Mechagodzilla and pulls his mouth up right before, you know, he's about to blast Godzilla and kill him. So when Kong saves the day here, you know. So, you know, for these purposes, that scaling looks pretty good. And I love how you could do that, you know, recreate that scene. That's the best part of, you know, buying SH Monsterarts figures, is the posability and the ability to recreate the scenes from these movies with these figures. And that just looks so cool. Of course, you can recreate that scene where both Godzilla and Kong got Mechagodzilla by the arm and they smash his head through the building, which looks pretty cool, you know. He looks big, you know. I'll let you be the judge of how you feel about the scaling of these three. I mean, it looks pretty good, you know. Just love that you could pose them like that, though. That's so awesome. Okay, so now you're going to see them scaled with the Haya. And obviously you could see what I mean. This looks a little more accurate to how it really should be, I think. You know what I mean? Definitely Godzilla looks about right, because he's supposed to be only 7 feet shorter. So that's about where he really should be. And I think the same goes for Kong. You know, because he still looks about the right size here, you know. What do you think? You know, to me that looks way more accurate. I don't know, you know. It's not bad either or, but that just looks more correct to me. So 334, 400, 393, 400. You know what I mean? So, but that's your scaling, you know. Scale them however you want, really. If you have the highest, scale them at the highest if you like the way that looks. You know, but just to give you a proper look at it. And you could basically recreate the scene where Godzilla is about to blow the atomic breath to charge up Kong's axe to chop Mechagodzilla to pieces, which is pretty cool. That you could have that pose as well, you know, and that's basically what started Mechagodzilla being finished off by Kong. So, you know, and it really does scale well with the highest. So, whatever your pleasure, man. You know. So, you know, I really love GVK. It's one of my favorite movies in the Godzilla franchise. Definitely a top 5 movie in the Godzilla franchise for me. You know, I love the fact that it was these 3 here in that movie. It just worked so well. And it tied everything together. Mechagodzilla allowed for Godzilla and Kong to fight each other and for both of them to save face in the movie, if you're a Godzilla fan or if you're a Kong fan, you know. And, yeah, this was just a great movie. And, yeah, I mean, look at that, man. To me, that looks about right, you know. These just look really nice together. But you know, Haya doesn't have a Mechagodzilla yet, so we got to see what Haya's Mechagodzilla ultimately looks like when it comes out. Because Haya's very good with being screen accurate. So, okay, so there we have it, people. To start the show, I do highly recommend this figure. You're getting a nice figure that has a nice paint job. It's screen accurate. You got a great tail on it, smooth as butter on the tail. You got smooth as butter on the head, and you have good articulation. It's a screen accurate figure by SH Monsterarts, and it's a little on the pricey side, you know what I mean? So just do a little research, watch some reviews, make sure this is for you. Be mindful of some of the faults, like be careful not to lose any of the claws. Be careful not to pop out the pistons, and I think you'll have a really great time posing this figure and having it as part of your collection on your shelf. So if you like the review, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and I'll be back at you with another one shortly. Peace!